Welcome to episode 13. First of all, we are sponsored by Cuz once again from Coca-Cola. But I want to get close to the camera. As you can see, we are in a sweatbox today. It is 36 degrees, at least in Brisbane, feeling 42 degrees in this room.
Yep.
As you can see from Kyrin Down's shirt, he's at least gone for a 2-kilometer run in sub 20-minute time because he's pretty slow at running. But today we got episode 13, meditation. If you have a look at the video of the wonderful Buddha that Kyrin has drawn up, I apologize in advance to anyone watching that and seeing it in video.
That turned out better than what I had in my mind,
to
be honest.
I don't know if you were trying to draw a circle or if you were trying to draw, I don't know, a pig laying down with his arms outstretched. Unsure, but that's the Buddha.
Well, I was trying to get like his fat rolls because he's a chubby fellow.
Yep.
But they ended up more like mini tentacles.
Okay. Yeah.
But, you know, that happens. That
happens. You're right. You are a mere mortal after all.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before we get into it, mere mortal moments, did you have any this week?
I didn't even think about it, to be honest. Sometimes things can slip away. And especially if you're... It sort of feels like you're doing something if you're just thinking about it. But unless you start to put it into action, it just doesn't... Nothing eventuates. So... finally this week I started doing a couple of odd jobs that I just had on this list, and this list just grows and grows and grows until it reaches a point. And it feels like there's no real reason for not doing it because it only takes literally 2 minutes for some of this stuff.
Kind of put them away.
Yeah, and so it's good to I suppose, but all of them were in my mind of things like, oh, every time I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that. But, you know, sometimes. Momentum in itself is just getting that started and going and going. Moment. You can get a whole lot done.
Well, it's always the case. It's like making your bed in the morning. It helps in that momentum.
Yeah, just that. I suppose that little bit of discipline, I guess. And for me, it's not disciplined because it's not like I was avoiding it because I didn't want to do it. It was more just a prioritization thing. So sometimes you do just need that little bit of momentum to actually get you going, and then you're like, all right, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
Get it out of my mind, because to be honest, the amount of time it was taking up in my mind just thinking about it was probably way more than
what you could have spent in actually doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. Okay. In terms of mere mortals for the moments, I didn't have any either. Yeah. I had an extremely busy week ever since our last episode of injury management and prevention. I've actually been applying it quite a lot more. Yeah. So my warm-ups have been a lot better. Today we had a bit of a leg session. My knee and my back starting to feel a lot better. I was able to do some better movement without any pain, which was fantastic. Yeah. So that went really well. So I don't think I've got anything of mere mortals moments culling out. So
perfect.
We won't have to change the name of the podcast. We're no longer mere mortals. So that's it. We're done.
The God podcast.
Before we get into the final thing for the meditation, now I want to call out. There is a couple of changes coming hopefully to the Mere Mortals podcast. The name might be changing, just a slight little twinge. We'll still continue to do in the podcast, but I did see that you've begun doing a bit of reviews on the book, The Island, not The Island, Island. I'd like to confirm. I haven't finished watching it, but we'll get into that. So for anyone sort of listening in, there's going to be the podcast, which is what you're listening to right now. There's going to be a little bit of reviews. The reviews are going to be, and I thought about this, not just perhaps books. It could be other podcasts that we might be listening to, other shows, TVs. Because at the moment, I've got one thing where I want to be watching a bit of video around amygdala responses and emotional responses. So I might have a bit of a review around that, just so you can have a bit of succinct information in one sort of channel.
For sure.
We'll be doing that as well.
Excellent.
And perhaps some other stuff to come. So 2020 is looking fun, fantastic, exciting, and engaging.
Excellent.
Episode 13, meditation. So I thought a little bit, how are we going to be talking about it? As always, we have to begin with some definitions. Definitions. Kyrin, so I want to hear your definitions on this.
So for me, I've always just got it, like literally just typing it on the internet and choosing whatever comes first. And I think just based on my web searches, I think it's like the Merriam-Webster dictionary or something like that.
Yeah, that comes up first.
But for this one, when I came up to it, I wasn't really satisfied with what it was saying.
My first one was the action or practice of meditating.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is useless.
Yeah.
So, okay, yep.
For sure. So what I did was I went to a bunch of them and I just culled out, I suppose, the words that I felt, one, came up a couple of times, and then two, that I felt were mostly what you hear and associate with it.
Yep.
So these would be words like contemplation, Insight, discourse. Discourse is interesting because
I did get one of those. Yep.
When you hear that discourse, you mainly associate that with like speaking. And
But it can also be written.
yeah, yeah. Attention, calm and relaxed.
Yep.
It's also associated with religious activity. So obviously, like Buddhism has a very strong component on the meditation aspect. But you also will find it in the others. You could say prayer is a type of meditation as well.
Yeah.
Thought, reflection, and introspection.
And I like that because a lot of those things, when people listen to it, I reckon, even when I think meditating, everyone thinks relaxed, calming, looking in terms of the information. But for me, I kind of see going to the gym almost as a bit of meditation for me as well. Because when I'm at the gym, especially when I'm on my own, I normally have music in. I am not thinking about what's going on with work or my day or everything else. Like, I am just focused on for 1 hour. I'm focused on a particular thing that gives me enjoyment. And so one of the things one of the definitions I found was a written or spoken discourse expressing considered thoughts on the subject. And I still thought that was a little bit too contained. I just think it's when you are focused intensely in some sort of activity, you could also term that as meditation as well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I'd say that the calm and relaxing part is a bit... I'd say there's sort of two types of...
A misnomer?
Yeah, like it's just a bit... doesn't fully capture what it's about because you will... I suppose if you're doing it right, you will come away with a calm and relaxed feeling. But I wouldn't say the actual effort that you put in is necessarily calm and relaxing. I'd say and we'll get into the different types, but for some of these, you definitely need to be focused. You need to be putting attention and effort into it, which is sort of the opposite of what you'd think from, calm and relaxing, putting in effort. But that's what it sort of takes. It's like a mental effort that you're trying to do.
Yep.
So that one can be a little bit like, if you think, oh yeah, I'm just going to go meditate, and you just go outside and watch butterflies for a while. That can be a type, but it's not really what I suppose the majority of people who sort of meditate seriously or in the sense of like they're doing it as a practice would consider meditation.
Yeah. So I think the way I wanted to sort of take on today's podcast, because I guess for someone listening right now, I myself have tried a little bit of meditating, but not to a great extent. I've listened probably more to meditation and things around meditating. So I'm not as far advanced in the actual act of doing, probably as much as you are. So I think that's where, from today, I'm probably going to be asking you a lot more questions around it, probably a little bit more in depth than I probably have asked you before.
Yeah.
But I'd also want to share, I want to sort of point out that we ourselves are not, guides to meditation as well.
No.
And there's actually a lot of better places for you to listen to in terms of being able to get that guided sort of meditation if you're looking for that as well.
Yeah, no. This is more just exploring the topic of it and I suppose what our personal experiences have been of it.
Yeah.
And I suppose maybe a little bit of info on the general idea of it, but nothing specific.
So look, to open us up, there's one thing that I when I think about meditating, I sort of split it into two different ways: guided and unguided.
Yeah.
And I want to get your view on guided, because when I think guided, I think the Sam Harris podcast, Sam Harris's app that he's got, which is guided meditation.
Yeah.
And I know that you've used it. So what would your view be on guided versus unguided meditation?
Okay, so I suppose a bit of backstory is needed first for me. So I probably started it around May 2017. So I've been doing this about 2.5 years now.
Yep.
And this is actually just a shout out for keeping a journal, because I would not have known that fact unless I had this journal to go back to. And
very detailed journal.
Yep. And so I started then, and for basically close to 2 years, I did it unguided. So I'd do a little bit of research, see what like your sort of general principle of what you're trying to aim to be doing in it is. But it was definitely just me doing it on my own, usually 10-15 minutes a day, around that same bit.
Yep.
And I did that while traveling as well. And one of the things is it is something you can do anywhere and anytime, but it is more difficult to do when you've got distractions and things going on around you.
Yeah,
so that's why you will, see the masters usually go up into the mountains. Have their temples, and they're meditating in just serene nature. There's a reason they do that, and that's because it is harder to meditate when you're surrounded by the daily distractions of life, of traffic, of dogs barking, of whatever.
Yep.
So I did that unguided for that section, and then I did guided for, I suppose, close to 3 or 4 months. And then now I've sort of switched just to doing it on my own again and just trying it unguided. What
did you find better, guided or unguided?
I definitely needed the guided. I if I had to recommend, I would say do the guided for a bit and try it out to get the general principle of what you need. Well, not need to, but if what you're trying to be doing, I guess, like getting your aim in your head aligned with what you're actually practicing.
Yeah.
So when I was practicing before, I was trying to concentrate on the breath, but I suppose I just wasn't getting the the little mental notes that'll tell me like, okay, this is like sort of one path you can go down, and which it might feel like you're doing something, but you're actually still going on like just losing yourself in thought.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I get a bit more explanation. So in a guided meditation, what's a sort of, gives a bit more detailed steps. What does that look like?
Okay, so for the one that I did, which was the Sam Harris app, and I had used some others before, which were just like one-off sessions that you can do. So it'll be 10 minutes, anywhere between a couple of minutes long to half an hour, or 2.5, something like that. And they'll usually start off with like a little bit of talking at the start, and then they'll just have gaps in it of 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Yep.
And in there it'll just be silence. Then they'll maybe just start talking again, just something like a little thing to note, or depending on exactly what type of meditation you're doing and what variety, they'll add different things into it.
Yep.
This is all just a general overview, I suppose, and I have mainly only practiced the mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
And so with some of the others, they do get, different styles and different things like that. And it's, so they'll add like little mental notes. Usually they chime in, and it depends like how experienced you are. So if you are very experienced, which I'm not, you could probably go 30 minutes, 40 minutes before they maybe give you like a small mental note or a chime for you to refocus.
Yeah.
If you're a complete beginner, which even though I'd done like a year and a year and a half or something of meditation on my own, you'll still get lost in thought within 10 seconds. Like you'll notice like, oh shit, this is...
Your mind just starts wandering really quickly.
Yeah. So
anecdotally, I mean, for myself, that's what I saw. I think I've attempted a couple of times in doing what I would consider a calming style of meditation, where I'll lay down, I'll close my eyes, and I'll attempt to sort of breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth, and just center myself in terms of just think about the breath and feeling your sort of your chest and your stomach move.
Yeah.
I guess apps that I've used would be something like Headspace, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I found myself doing it sometimes on the bus, which is a lot harder, but that is guided meditation.
Yeah.
And it was okay, but I'm an individual who, I'm not great for long sort of form things. So for me, meditation for 30 minutes just seems inconceivable. That just seems like way too long for me to be staying still and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Where I know that you do much longer meditations, or have done much longer meditations in the past.
Yeah. Now it's not that much.
So I could see, for me, guided 5-minute meditations would be a good thing. I would employ that.
Yeah.
But I do agree with what you're saying, because for me, when I start focusing on the breath, I can feel my mind just wander very quickly.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example with the Headspace guided. Normally they let you sort of go a little bit free. So they tell you just let your mind wander and go everywhere, and then try to refocus it in. I find it, if that's not happening very, very often, my mind just goes wandering really quickly. So I could see how hard it could be just to get even a couple more seconds beyond, 10 seconds of really focused meditation, I guess, in that calming way.
Yeah.
And there's only one part of what I guess meditation could be considered, because then when I look at it as the unguided version, but not necessarily calming. So I would consider being at the gym some form of meditation for me. And I know that when I get into a set of squats or I'm lifting dumbbells or anything else, during that period of time of the 40 seconds or a minute, I don't have anything else running through my mind.
Yeah.
There's no thoughts of what to do at home or a message or anything else. I'm just purely focused on that and any music that I'm listening to.
Yeah.
And in that short burst of meditation, I could consider and compare it to, focusing on my breath, because all I'm focusing on is the movement of the weight.
Yeah,
and I think that meditation I'm finding I'm really good at.
Yeah.
But then if I was to compare it, then I've been doing it for 10 years. So in comparable, if I was doing normal meditation, normally calming meditation, perhaps I would have to be doing 10 years of really consistent practice to get to that sort of level.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can sort of see what you mean.
Yeah. I suppose, and that is a pretty crucial aspect of it, the focus, and keeping your attention, I suppose, in the present.
Yep.
Which you would be doing, because I see you when you go to your squats, you get under the bar, and it's like that's when it's like on time. So you put your hands on, you do your things, get the bar set, put your shoulders down, set it, and then every part of the movement I can see like that's all you're thinking about. You can't afford to be even like looking straight ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
You could probably be flashing stuff in front of you and you wouldn't even notice.
Probably, yeah.
What's happening there?
Yeah. Normally for Kyrin, I mean, he doesn't know what that would feel like. He's still lifting, below 120 sub-maximal lift. So he's still looking like the Buddha in the picture. So it's fine.
That's all right. That's what happens when you do squats to depth.
Yeah. Which Kyrin does not. I can assure you of that. But I want to get so a couple of things around the meditation, because I guess it teases this out from you. What was your longest experience in meditating? So this is your calming sort of noticing your breath style, sort of meditating. What was the longest meditation session you've done?
Yeah, so
I guess what have you found? What did you find from it?
Yeah, so that was the one that I already talked about. I think in the first or second episode, where it was. I think I set myself the goal of doing 2 hours, but that was still broken up as well. It wasn't like I'm starting at this 2 hours, 12 o'clock, and then finishing at 2 o'clock. It was sort of I did it for an hour, and then I'd have like a little bit of a break, and while I'm getting the phone set for the next thing and that sort of stuff. And even then, once again, you can say I'd say I've attempted to meditate for 2 hours. How long I actually meditated in that is up for debate. Yeah, probably 20 minutes.
Okay, so what was the best meditation session that you've actually done?
Yeah, so the best would probably be, and they're just subtle differences. They're not like one day you have like this mind expanding whoa moment. Yeah, which you can have. Some people have those bits where they have those out of body sensations. They're enveloped in like a pure cleansing light. There is only nothingness. There's like they experience the emptiness or whatever. Yeah. I've never experienced anything like that. I've had like one where it was like a little bit of an out of body where it felt like I was sort of hovering above my own head. Okay, yeah. But even then, I suppose the experience of and my memory of it, because it's so long ago, it's like faded. Okay. All I can compare it to is I suppose in my 10-minute ones that I do nowadays. Yep. So I'll do like. And I'll get into exactly what I do, but in a couple of them, I've had maybe like 5 minutes almost uninterrupted, where it was I followed every single breath in and out, and if I was counting, which you can do sometimes if you want to, I probably would have been able to count each one and told you like, okay, yeah, I fully experienced that breath in and then that breath out, as one single breath. Okay.
So on the extreme other side.
On the extreme other side.
What's the worst session you've had?
I mean, it's not worse because nothing's really happening, but there's just been ones where today, for example, I just sat down and I was just thinking the whole time. Like I'd bring myself back, and then almost instantly, 5 seconds later, I'd be thinking something and not catching myself as well. Yep. Watching some of. There's this guy called Dan Harris, no relation to Sam Harris. And I saw him on Joe Rogan, and then he went on Sam Harris's podcast, and He's very skeptical by nature.
Yep.
And so with him, when he first got into it, he was very, very like critical of it. He was always thinking like, how is this wrong? Like, why is this stupid? And for him, you know, it had some immense benefits.
Yep.
And he really puts the emphasis on it's not the following of the breath. It's more the focus should be on the catching of yourself doing it. Like that's where you see the progress.
Okay.
And that is true as well, especially for beginners. That's
how interesting is that? I'll just play that back. So you said the way to succeed is to catch when you move away, not so much to catch the breath. Which I guess is reflective in a mere mortal moment. That's a little bit like saying, you know, you're learning from when you fail and when you're moving away, as opposed to the success of every breath. So I like that, which is it's kind of like as everything, you're actually learning from when you're failing, noticing it, and then kind of bringing it back, as opposed to being aware of 3 breaths and thinking that that's the improvement point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that's just a variation of emphasis. Some people will emphasize the
success,
following the breath as a success, whereas he's putting the emphasis on catching yourself.
Yeah, like it might be, you know, the success is that you only caught yourself 7 times as opposed to 20 times, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, both have a role to play, and both are equally valid. But it depends on your personality and where you are as how much experience you have as to which is, I suppose, more useful for you.
So before I get, because I want to ask you some tips and tricks around it, I do want you to get into really specifics, really detail. I want to kind of know how exactly you go about doing your meditating, like, you know, timing, how do you do it, how do you prep, how do you set out sort of time. So if people were looking to do it, listening to this, I want to go, okay, I want to try the meditation. I want to try this sort of style of meditating. And what would you actually call it? Would you just call it mind, like unguided, calming meditation?
So there's different types, and maybe we'll just go into this quickly. So I've had very limited experience in some of these. So there's one called loving kindness, which is basically like you're almost sending compassion to the world. So that's where you're sitting there, you're actively trying to create, I guess, the sensation of love that you'd feel to a family member. That
like focusing on an individual and kind of being, you know, thinking of that love, of that feeling,
like that gratitude you feel, that those immense happy feelings, that I suppose that inequality that draws you to them. And
that actually, just quickly, that's a good practice that I found I've done like a handful of times, but I really enjoy it, where you kind of talk about it like either when you wake up, before you go to bed, you know, being grateful about 3 things, really stepping into that gratefulness, or thinking of 3 moments that made you really happy, really thinking about them deeply and kind of getting that emotional movement into the now and using that through.
See, I do something similar, usually during the workout, when I'm on my own or in the car, or just when I have a little bit of spare time, and I'll just think, you know, what am I grateful for today? And it can be anything, like, you know, pick anything in the world, and you can be grateful for that. There's the mindfulness, which is the one I've practiced the most, and that's, I suppose, just trying to cultivate an awareness of anything / everything. Usually, for me, I've focused it on the breath or thoughts. So, like, catching myself thinking of usually the future or the past, and not. It's almost like a game. Like, you got to catch yourself thinking. You're like, oh, I caught myself thinking. But then you're catching yourself thinking as well. So I suppose the point of it is not to completely eliminate and have no thoughts, but to just be aware all the time. Like, and you can sort of focus that awareness, because obviously there's so much stuff coming in. There's your sensations of your body, your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, whatever. Obviously you can't capture all of those in detail at one single time, so you can either focus on something, or you can try and appreciate like each of them as they come in.
Well, and I would call that noting. So it's just noting when you kind of go through, and that's probably the one thing I picked up from Headspace was when you note that you start moving away, rather than doing it really abruptly and going, okay, cool, back to the breath. You're just kind of noticing or noting the fact that you're going away, and then gently sort of pushing yourself back into focusing on the breath, and trying to do that in a bit more of a noted way. Like, oh, okay, you note that. I found that, you know, meditation, and this probably will touch at the end, it's what's the benefits from it. I think noting helps a lot when you've got that amygdala response and you go straight into anger because of something, or surprise, or fear. When you've got that, your old brain that does that emotional sort of jettison, and then you've got your whatever you call it, brain part where it actually catches and actually does the logic processing.
Yeah.
I think noting can help that, because you can note how angry you are or what emotion you're feeling and go, okay, well, you can start logically going, okay, why am I feeling that? And start pulling it back. So you move away from that raw animal brain into much more logical brain.
One of the things I've found most useful has been catching myself when I am angry or frustrated or whatever.
Yep.
And really just trying to almost blank out entirely everything that's happened before. And just starting from this moment, like breathe in, and it's like, what am I feeling right now?
Yep.
And the physical body sensations. And what you notice is like, you might be a bit tense, and that's it. Like there's none of that emotional baggage attached to why you're feeling the way you are as well.
No, that's good. I like that.
And yeah, Sam Harris has like a quote where it's when you start doing these things, the half-life, so like the duration of the emotion is, you can just eliminate it very quickly. So if you're angry 10 minutes, you can cut
Eliminate
that down
it,
to, if you catch it early on, you can almost get rid of it instantly.
In seconds essentially. Yeah.
You might still be like a little bit stressed, feel a bit tight, I guess, physically.
Yep.
But if you can let go of the emotional part of it, that does play a big role.
Yep. And just continuing it, so a couple of different ones as well in terms of in meditation. Body scan. I have done this probably one of the most that I've done.
Yeah.
And I normally do this just before going to bed. And what I'll do is, if for some reason my mind's kind of wandering or I'm thinking of other things, I'll do a body scan where I'll just kind of start from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
So normally what I find there is that I'm holding stress in different parts. So like I'll focus on sort of my forehead, and I'll realize, I'm holding my forehead a little bit, and just kind of like relax it.
Yeah.
Then you'll go to your ears, your cheeks, your jaw, your neck, your chest, your shoulders, and you'll sort of stop at each sort of point within your body and go, just focus on it a little bit more than you would normally do.
Yeah.
Until you kind of relax it and let it go all the way down to your toes. So I've done that probably quite a few times now, more than a handful. And I normally find before I even get down to my knees, I'm probably already like falling asleep. So that's another good way of sort of getting some sleep for me, I find.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've done body scanning like that before.
I've tried it, but it's nothing I've consistently done as well.
Yeah. Have you got a couple of other different ones?
Yep. So transcendental. So
yep. It's the one I never say correctly.
Yeah, it's transdermal.
Transdermal.
That meditation.
Or as Manshall says, transparent.
So that's where you're basically repeating a mantra and using that, I suppose, instead of the breath.
Yep.
And you come back to that. I'm not exactly sure what it is about the mantra that does that it has the effect it seems to have on some people. Maybe it's more their brain just understands languages in a bit of a different way. So if they get that repetitive motion, that repetitive and you can make your mantra. You can make your mantra anything, and then there's the guy who made up transcendental meditation has this.
Well,
no, he's got a weird system where it's based on your birth date, and that's where it's starting to get into like astrology, and it's like, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Zen. So that's like a structured interrogation into the mind. This is getting into the real Buddhist and a variation of the Buddhist.
Yep.
So this is where you'll have, I suppose you're super structured. So you're almost by necessity to do Zen meditation. You need a teacher.
Okay.
And so they will be telling you, okay, like for this lesson, we're going to focus on this. Blah blah blah, and they'll be speaking to you the whole time.
Yeah, okay. So it's a very, very strongly guided meditation.
And with this one, this is where you get the Zen koans. So what is the sound of like one hand clapping?
Yep.
And there's a number of these, and what they are trying to do is to I suppose get your brain out of the current the normal way of thinking and into like a sort of, I guess, like a different path. So if you had all these paths set out before you, there's like the well-worn rut, which is the one you take every time. And, with these questions, what they're trying to get you to do is go into like a different path.
Yeah, okay.
And
just a different way of looking at things or thinking about things.
And the last one that I noted down, and this is by no means a comprehensive list, was Kundalini, which
I haven't heard that before.
normally associated as Kundalini yoga.
Yep.
But you can do like the meditation aspect of it, which is slow body movements with mantras as well.
Oh, yeah. I know the ones. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay. There's a couple here, others actually that I've got as well.
Yeah.
Not that I'll go into much detail into them, apart from one particular one, so I'll leave that to the end. There's sound bath meditation. So it's around using bowls and gongs and instruments to create sounds. Like, it's probably just a different sensory ways that you could do the meditation. So these are just around using sounds while you're sitting to kind of just project yourself differently.
Yeah.
There's Qigong meditation. So it's a old Chinese and around meridians. And so I think that's more around the...
like your chakras or something.
Yeah, being open and fluid.
Yeah.
There is chakra meditation. There's Vipassana meditation as well.
Yeah.
And then yoga meditation. So all of these are more older, ancient sort of traditions where they've just been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's not particularly around focusing on a specific thing. I think it's more around the noise / chakra / flow states that I think I do.
Yeah.
The one, and I'll sort of combine it, is the reflection meditation. So I guess looking back at something that's sort of happened very deeply. So if we were to do this podcast 13, afterwards maybe sitting down with a journal or something and really specifically going through how did I feel positively, how did I feel negatively, what could have improved, what were weaknesses. And I think these ones in particular I kind of like because they are like meditation, but they're also serve purposes in the business world. So just after you do something or after a very project or whatnot, normally you'd like to do a retrospective on what worked, what didn't, what could have we improved, how could we have interacted better, and you really solidify things as you move forward. Perhaps a little bit like you doing a review of a book. You're kind of just summarizing what did I learn, what didn't I learn, what did I find interesting, and what didn't you, and you can solidify both when you comment that back to someone, and as you move on, you kind of take those learnings a little more deeply.
Yeah, and that's where you'll hear like meditate in the sense of thinking. So, one, have you thought more about that proposal of the new bypass that's going in? Oh, I'm going to meditate on that a little bit longer. Yeah,
that's right. That still holds true because you're just trying to thinking more deeply or thinking more focusedly on a specific thing.
Yeah. So it's definitely like I guess like an interrogation, a structured attention onto something. I suppose if you had to say what the core focus of it should be.
And I think so. Last one would be visualization, and I would call this a little bit of meditation, maybe shorter term meditation. But 2 examples is I would do visualization in a business front. I might do that with a particular artifact or strategy or anything that I'm putting together. I will visualize what the end state will be. So if I've got a piece of work that's 3 months or what have you, I will normally visualize, okay, what's the expected thing going to be in 2 months, in 3 months? What sort of questions am I going to be asked by a client or an individual? What can I expect to be? So that I'm essentially putting forward something and I'm kind of visualizing and thinking, okay, well, what is going to be the response? And so what do I then have to do now again to make sure that I already take that on board? So you're already sort of preempting that first review channel and you're already visualizing what's going to happen. But similarly, I would do that at the gym. And I don't know if you've tried this before at the gym, I visualize quite hard. So whenever I'm doing a very heavy squat or a heavy lift, I will visualize myself doing it already before I do it. So I'll normally go through, if I'm standing sort of at the bar, going in for a squat, before I sort of go in, I'll hold it, and I'll visualize in my mind me already having it on my back, doing the squat, coming back up and racking it.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it goes a little bit like, okay, well, I've already done it. Even though my body hasn't, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I've done this movement already and I've sort of visualized it. So once I get into it, I'm like, okay, well, I've already done it. It should be able to do it again. I've heard a couple of other people say that and do that before. And it works fairly well. So not that I always do it, but in some of the heaviest lifts, that I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've tried that before.
I might have, but it's not something I do
specifically.
consistently.
Yeah. So I guess, sorry. So that was, I guess, a wide range of, types of meditation. So if you're thinking about what to do, or there are many different ones, I'd probably say go and take a look just to see what sort of appeases you and what might work best with your practice. But now that we've sort of gone through that, I'd like to get your take, your exact sort of meditation. What's your exact sort of process and what does that actually look like?
Yeah. So What I do nowadays, so I'll just tell you exactly what I did this morning. I'll wake up, usually go clean my teeth, and I suppose just chuck some water on my face, weigh myself, because I keep like a log of that. And that's sort of just, doing the basic cleansing and hygiene and waking up procedure. And I go straight from there into this room and usually close the door. And I've just got an app on my phone now which will hit some gong sounds every 2 minutes. And you can change it to whatever you want. But it's basically just a note, just a ding, lasts for a couple of seconds. And I suppose what I'm trying to do now is increase my focus. So for the first 10 minutes, I'll do that and I'll focus only on the breath. And what I'm trying to do is like breathe in. So I've got my eyes closed, hands on my legs, just breathing in and just really trying to focus like on particular in like the nostrils, I suppose. And feeling the air come in out in there, in and then out of there.
Okay, so you do like nose in and out?
Yeah, so it's just trying to focus the whole time completely on this one thing. And the thing is, when you get into it, it's not boring. Like you'd think, it could be just boring. Like all you're literally doing is focusing on some a feeling in your face, and one that doesn't really change, one that's consistent. It's always there for your whole life. You're always feeling this. But when you start to delve a bit deeper into it, you can, I suppose, I wouldn't say get some enjoyment, but it's definitely not boring. It's I don't know. It's a strange feeling if you're sort of getting into it, and you'll hit it. For me, I'll hit it, and like I said, most of the time I'll get to 2 minutes, 4 minutes, maybe. Not even most of the time. Half of the time I'll do that, and then the other half of the time I'll maybe get like a little 1 minute stretch. Lose myself in thought, hear the gong, and be like, refocus. Get back into it again, and so that first 10 minutes is always just trying to increase my focus and attention. And so that is, I guess, one part of me trying to improve something like physical about me, improve something tangible, so that, say I am going to do some work or something, or I'm focusing on a book, and I assume you've had this as well, where you're reading a book and then you realize you've read a whole page, but you haven't taken a single thing in. I suppose what I'm trying to do there is increase those times where I will just be able to read that page, and a good book will just draw you in. But sometimes your mind will be off in a different place, and what I want to be doing is being able to like section parts of my life and being like, there's no use thinking of this here. That's not going to help. So let me focus entirely on here. This stuff can wait for later. So that'll be worrying about the project that's coming up next week. And the other guy that you're working with, he hasn't delivered what he needs to. And so it's going to be a bit of a shit show, going to be a bit of confrontation. Maybe you don't like confrontation, so you're starting to get worried about that. Nothing's going to change. Like you can't do anything to improve that. There is no benefit to you
spending
to worrying
time
about
and worrying about it.
To spending your mental energy on these things. So what I want to be able to do is being able to, I guess, recognize and partition those things in my life. If I'm doing something, I want to be doing it 100%. I don't want to be thinking about whatever. And those whatevers they constantly appear in life. They're always there. So I'll do that, then I'll finish that 10 minutes, so just take like a breath or two. And then I'll do the same thing again, but this time I'll try and focus on different aspects. So for the first 2 minutes, it'll be just on the breathing. Second 2 minutes is me hearing the sounds coming in and just trying to pick out individual sounds. What you'll notice is things aren't always as they appear to be, especially with sounds. So if you listen to a refrigerator running and you really listen to it, you'll hear like 4 unique different sounds, but they all, when you're like not concentrating, it's just a hum. But when you're really like sort of partitioning about, you'll hear one which is sort of like maybe be like and another which is more of a hum, another which is a slightly higher hum.
So there is differences once you start getting the detailed focused view on it.
Yeah, exactly. You just, I guess, start to notice things a lot more clearly compared to what they were when you're just, I guess, approaching it for the first time and not 100% concentrating on it.
Yep.
So I'll do that. Then I'll sort of just feel the different parts of my body as they're touching the floor, as my hands touching my legs, maybe just where my nose is in relation to my ears and that sort of thing. I guess like fourth of the second minutes of the 2 minutes would be just you can either do this eyes open or closed. Lately I've been doing it closed, where I'll just look into like the darkness of my eyes.
Yeah.
And even though it's black, you can actually see things as well in there as well. Like you'll notice like little pinpricks of light.
Yep.
And things like that. And then the last 2 minutes is sort of just trying to amalgamate them all and see what pops up
across the whole array.
Yeah. In the future, when I've got a bit more time, I want to add another 10 minutes and use that to focus, I suppose, solely on the thoughts.
Yep.
Like a thought pops into my head and sort of
delving deeper into that particular thought.
Yeah, or just like not associating that with myself. One of the things Sam Harris gets into is he basically says like when you reach a point of intense concentration and you delve deep enough, you'll sort of find that there's no real you there. So there's no like essence. There's always just like I say giraffe.
Yeah.
Like how much control did you have of thinking of giraffe when I said it? Not much, because it was from me. But then you go into your own mind, and this is where you'll notice. I've noticed this particularly where I'll have like some really fucked up thought, just something like disgusting or stupid, and it's like, where did that come from? Is that like me?
Yeah.
Is that my brain? Is that Kyrin coming up with that?
Yeah.
Or is that something different and I'm just noticing it?
Yeah, okay.
It's hard to explain. He does a much better job.
Yeah.
And he talks about it for hours and hours, so which we're not going to do here.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things he sort of says. Like, I guess it's just one way of trying to mentally dissociate you from what you're thinking, and experiencing as well. So what they've done some studies on people in chronic pain.
Yep.
And even though they'll sort of teach them to meditate and focus on the pain or on what they're experiencing. And they never say that the pain lessens, but they do say like the emotional baggage aspect of you
connected to that pain is lessened.
Yeah, which is really interesting. Where it's like, I don't even know how to explain that. Like you're.
It's not so much. It's not that the pain. It's not that the pain is changing in terms of its level. So if you've got a 5 out of 10 pain, it's still going to be a 5 out of 10 pain.
Yeah.
But you are sort of detaching yourself, the thought process of how much that is painful and what it's doing.
Yeah,
so kind of like in the little sense of if something's annoying you and if you get really focused on it, it's going to be even more annoying.
Yeah.
But if you've got 100 other things happening, then you're probably going to be less annoyed by it, even though it's the same annoyance.
Yeah.
So it's maybe something at that sort of level.
Yeah. I was actually reading, what was it? Behave by Robert Sapolsky. And he was talking about sort of how pain receptors work sometimes.
Yep.
And he drew like this really simple diagram. And it was basically showing how, you know how you have an itchy, like a mosquito bite, and you itch it, and it actually sort of feels better. One of the things is you're not, I guess, what you're actually doing is creating more pain or sensation in different parts around it, so that you're not, I don't know.
It focuses less on that. Yeah,
exactly. And then when you stop itching, it comes back.
Yeah. Well,
so
here's one that I do, and I've learned this from, I don't know, from how old this thing is, but mum knew it from Colombia. So rather than itching it, what you actually do is use your nail and you painfully put a cross over it, and the actual pain itself lessens the ability to scratch because the pain receptors take over the scratch movement. So when you do that painfully, you don't even want to scratch anymore because it overloads the actual nodes into being much more in the pain sense than being scratch sense, and then you don't want to scratch for hours.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I think I did that, but I've learnt that, but not through
Yeah, not through any application.
Colombian wisdom.
Yeah.
It's
So here's one just in terms of a little bit of summary of it. In terms of the benefits you found from meditating, because I get a precursor, Tim Ferriss, which I'm listening to quite avidly at the moment. One of the things he kind of refers to quite a lot now from episode 70 to 80, as he's sort of talking through, and he has interviews with very high level people, both hedge fund managers, chess masters, all sort of kinds.
Yeah.
He actually finds that 80% of them do some sort of meditation. So some of the meditation that we've just discussed in terms of visualization or mindfulness or guided or unguided, 80% of really successful people do it. So it seems like it is a recipe for improvement of some kind.
Yeah. And of that 80%, a large portion of it did like first thing waking up, right? It was...
I don't know if he's specifically called that out.
Okay.
They just do meditation of some kind. Okay. So I mean, transcendental is normally a 2-a-day sort of process. So I'm assuming they follow that
so that's
sort of
like
tradition.
2 20-minute sessions, one in the morning and usually one in the afternoon.
I mean,
evening.
I also would hazard a guess that it's, even though it's 80%, it's probably also because they've got some sort of routine, and routines are like critically important to be, successful in any sort of venture. But meditation is just something that is also part of it, whether it's really just a correlation as opposed to a causation. The numbers still seem to point to being quite a high value. But what are the benefits you finding then from doing meditation as opposed to not doing it at all?
Yeah.
Because you spend, you're saying you spend at least 10 minutes a day on it daily. Why should people be doing it 10 minutes a day?
Yeah. So once again, I don't particularly love to give recommendations as a general whole thing to people. If they're interested in it, this is why I do it. I remember I told you that story of that girl with the cutting board, and that was a couple of episodes ago. I don't remember exactly which. That was probably 3 or 4 months after I had
begun doing some meditation.
In a consistent manner. And so that was the first time that I really realized, okay, my brain, I don't have control of what I'm feeling right now. And so that, I think that one thing I learned there potentially saved me a unnecessary confrontation with that girl. If I had just continued in the way.
So it reduced a bit of confrontation that could have occurred.
It makes better decisions. So it doesn't help you make better decisions. It helps you stop getting out of that emotional state, and that by itself usually leads to better decisions. Increased focus and attention. I have been able to, I suppose,
see a difference in that.
It's subtle. It's a very subtle difference, but one that I think is noticeable as well. And I just get that bit of control back, I suppose. I suppose maybe there was a time in my life where I felt I lacked control in some of the ways that the world was affecting me. And, that's all the time. You can't control what other people do. You can't control the environment. You can't control a lot of things. But you can control your own mental state and how you view the world. I suppose that it's just helped me to gain that little bit of control back and feel like I have I can't stop or can't alter a lot of the things that happen to me, and
so you just got to kind of deal with them and go forward
as part of life. But I can change how I react to them.
Well, I think one of the things, and this again is quite recent, it's not from us, it's something that I think I've picked up from Jocko, and we've been saying a little bit over the last few weeks or month. I guess to give you an example, like today in this room is probably be the warmest, hottest it's ever been that we've ever done a podcast.
Pretty close,
if anyone looks at the video, Kyrin's shirt has completely changed color.
So there's light gray, the beginning, and then there's dark gray.
There's dark gray. So since the start of the podcast, we've completely sort of changed color on your shirt. But what Jocko sort of says of no factor, I think for me meditation would really help out in that. So I think for me meditation is probably the body scans and the visualizations that I do, and that's probably given me a bit better ability when really shitty things happen, like it's a hot day or you have 300 things to do at work and 5 extra get added. You can complain and get annoyed, and I'll still do this quite a lot. Ask a lot of people, I'll still complain actively about things, but that's probably just a superficial thing. I think internally I try to apply more now from the meditation around, okay, well, no factor. Like, you know, that's another thing that's happening. I can either waste energy in complaining about it, or I can put in energy around figuring out, what do I prioritize, what do I do with my work, and what's the next steps to do. And I think meditating for me, I could see that that's what it would help out in, and kind of going more from a emotional reaction to just a very logical reaction to going, okay, well, these three things are happening. What are those ways that I can do? And again, like one of the things you were talking about earlier, perhaps you just thought away, you know, emotionally you thought about it, three things. Logically, you start thinking, okay, well, there's actually 5 different ways. And when you really put some thought into it, you go, actually, there's a 6th way that I can, you know, take on this leading domino that'll actually make all these other things, you know, like it's just trivial to even think about them anymore. So I think meditation could really help out in that manner.
Yeah, so. for sure. There's I think for some people maybe it wouldn't be great as well. Like if you're having mental issues, maybe it's not good for you to particularly delve into them and you know, experience them in their full vividness. Yeah. I think in the future it is going to be a much larger part of our daily lives, especially as it seems to be we're getting more automation, so we get a bit more time for ourselves in the day.
Yeah.
I think it is going to play a lot more of a factor. And it's sort of comparable to psychedelics in a way, where I suppose psychedelics are a way to really explore your mind and not explore your mind, but realize that your mind has
limitations.
It either has limitations or it's stuck in this one story mode. Okay. I'd say so. Like right now, we're in the story mode of everything is sort of, we follow like a plain rational sort of view of things. Everything is happening like this. When you take psychedelics, everything changes. The you know, visuals, how you feel, what you hear. Yep. It takes on a much different character. And I suppose it's not even how the character changes, but it's the realization that, okay, my mind obviously is capable of these very different states.
Yep.
And I think meditation is sort of one of those ways of getting into a different state, but with a lot more control. When you take psychedelics, you're almost, you know, rolling a dice sometimes, because if you have a good trip, that's amazing, that's cool. If you have a bad trip, you're in for a world of hell.
Oh well, you got a hectic story about someone who had a hugely bad trip when you went in your South American trip. I mean, yeah, not for us to share right now. It's probably going to be a long into a different area, but yeah, it can be really bad if you take it the wrong way.
Yeah, and so meditation is more of a, I suppose, like a slow, controlled way of achieving those similar states without the risk of something going, you know, catastrophically wrong.
Yep. No, I agree. I know we're reaching the top of the hour soon, so I wanted to also get from you tips and tricks just for people. Yeah. Like some really quick and dirty tips and tricks. What would you say if people wanting to get into meditation, what would you suggest they go and do?
Personal thing for me is starting in the mornings, keeping your mind fresh. As soon as I do notice, as soon as this morning, for example, Mum was asking for something downstairs, so I went down and helped her. Then I ended up doing a couple of little tasks, and then I came up and did it. I found my brain was already starting to get into that like
thinking mode
of like, okay, this needs to get done. What am I going to do today? How am I going to plan it out? So for me, starting off fresh in the morning is I suppose a good way. Yep. Like I said, you can do it anywhere, but it does help if you have, I suppose, intermittent noises. So if it's just like, you know, the general ambient sounds, I feel it's much more distracting if you hear something that's like people talking, for example, which is not a constant flow. It's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, okay. So you don't want to be doing meditation if your house on fire and your alarm's going off.
Yep.
Probably not the right time either to be meditating.
But you try.
If you're really good at meditating, you know, you might be able to put it out of your mind until the fire hits your skin.
Well, dude, have you seen that very famous photo from Vietnam of
the monk
getting duck, something like that?
Of the monk being burnt alive.
Yep. So he as a form of protest, basically poured gasoline on himself, lit himself on fire, and he just sat there immobile while, you know, his flames being ravaged by body and he's dying.
Yeah.
And that was someone who's reached
some ridiculous level. Yeah.
A peak level of control over themselves.
Peak level of no factor.
Peak level.
He's like, oh, my temple's on fire. Easy. I wish it was hotter.
My skin's melting off. Good. Yeah, crazy. So, sum up for me. I think it's worth trying. But, you know, everyone, each to their own. Yeah, for me, the main benefits have been concentration and mood control.
Yep.
And I suppose you can cancel out just some negatives that you do have as well. So it's not necessarily like a positive thing, but it's more, I don't notice that I'm particularly burdened with this particular thought every now and this, you know, every time I go to the shops or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So,
well,
yeah.
Perfect. Well, I got nothing else around meditation. So that has been good. I think today was supposed to be a little bit more a one-way discussion of me asking some questions and you providing them, because obviously you're a little bit more in depth in the meditating world and what you actually practice than I have. So hopefully people took some of that away and enjoy that.
One last thing to add is if you get into meditation, you're going to meet people who are a bit down the road of, like, I suppose they've appreciated the subjective experience a bit too much, and so they start becoming easily persuadable for some ridiculous things as well. Yeah, and so this is where you'll get those cults of people who, like with their charisma,
like cone things and whatever. Yeah,
the Cohen is the I suppose one of the big examples, but even I think like the Branch Davidians and people like that, they had like a meditative sort of aspect to their cult. Yeah, and they'll start speaking like psychobabble or things you just don't understand. If it's something that you can't understand, unless it's like a real, I suppose don't go down paths if you don't understand. Ask the question, like, what do you mean by that? Oh, you know, the universe has the oneness and that oneness is within inside of you. Ask if you're not sure, because it can be very easy to be persuaded. Yeah,
misguided through
of something. Like,
it's kind of like
it's just a progression of going down, and then you end up in some weird places. You can end up in places that are like, you know, sort of harmless. Yeah,
but they could be like, you know, this feeling you've got right now of sadness because you've just paid us $1,000. This is what we're teaching you to feel happy about that, exactly. And then you'll keep doing it for a whole month, and all of a sudden you lost your house. And just trying to teach you about how to take on pain and make yourself happy. So I wouldn't also suggest people go and do that.
Yeah. So if you start to get into this world, keep your eyes
be aware for that. Okay, cool. I like that. Very good. If anyone wants any other tips and tricks or wants to ask questions, Kyrin can be reached through commentary in any of our platforms on YouTube, social, so that's Instagram and Facebook, and you should also go and follow us there or ask us any questions or send us any ideas if you want any podcast or the like, or reviews.
Yeah.
Or don't. Oh, you know, we don't really pay attention that much anyways. We got other stuff to do. Kyrin doesn't.
I do every now and then. I'm getting better, man. I've made some unprompted Facebook posts.
Yeah, you have actually, which is just brilliant. To other people listening to this would be like, that's just my second Monday. But, you know, to Kyrin, that was a live event. That was a live event. Big event. Well, no, it'll go down in history. So,
Fitness
challenge week 9. So we've been a little bit slow on the points. Yeah. But I'm going to go first today.
Okay.
Because I've been putting on some hard yards. Not at the gym, unfortunately. It's been hard yards at work. It's been a very busy week of work. I have not moved from the 15. I haven't attempted anything else. I guess I've been more focused on the improvement of the knee and the back. I don't even know what other points I'm going for yet. I think the pull-up's going to have to be the next one. But again, I haven't even had that much time to really progress it as much. So I don't think this number will be shifting for a few weeks or pre-Christmas. But you never know. But we'll see in time to come.
Disgusting.
Kyrin, what about yourself?
Obviously, I've been working hard.
You've been working hard. The shirt's been changed. Yeah. Drenched. Oh, here we go. We're going to rub it off.
So he has made some progress.
He has made some progress. Oh, but it's only... Oh, he's rubbed off the 1.
So the 18 is gone.
Oh, dang. What's it going to be now?
It's going to be a 2.
It's going to be the first one. Oh,
and then it's a 0 as well.
dang. 2 points. 2 points. Where did this originate from?
So I got my 2 points. It's been coming. You should have seen it coming, to be honest. For my 1K run, did it in less than 3 minutes 30.
Oh, nice. Well done.
Not only did I do that, I absolutely smashed it and did it in 3 minutes 22.
Whew.
So it was 7 seconds off
Your
3 minutes
3-pointer.
15 time.
Yeah.
Once again, that was a bit weird because, like I was explaining the other weeks, a lap is roughly 250 meters.
Yep.
This time when I was using my GPS on the phone, it cut off like, sometimes it can go much longer and sometimes it goes shorter. And so like, there's been times where I've done a full thing and it's like I've run an extra 100 meters. And there's another time where I've done it and it's like I've cut off 50, 25 meters.
Yeah.
So I think this one was an example of me running very hard and then it would just cut off like 25 meters earlier than some of the previous times. So what I actually want to do now, I still would have made it, I think, because in 8 seconds I could have run that extra 25
meters.
Yeah, that would.
Are you thinking maybe just do like an average over a couple of runs or something?
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking if there's a way of getting like a really quality GPS app or something to measure distance, and then fully measuring that, or maybe even on Google Earth, fully measuring like the exact points that I run, or just making it consistent and saying like, okay, this one lap here is to this point is 250 meters.
Yep.
And so just do that
exactly for the 4 times. Yeah. Okay. Ah, but still, that's awesome though.
But
sub 330. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So very happy with that. And that's where I got my points. Some still looking hard, but the rowing.
The rowing's on it. You're getting there with the rowing. You're getting the rowing. You did a new. We almost broke the 16-second mark on the 100-meter row.
Yep.
Which is good. We did a pretty fast 250 meters.
Yeah.
Those we're legitimately only 2-3 seconds away there. 500 meters is another story altogether.
I think that's going to be the hardest.
500 meter just seems. Yeah. If anyone's listening to this and knows about rowing, we have to be doing a 126 pace.
Yeah.
Over 500 meters, which is even on the 100 meters, holding a 122 pace for me is quite hard. Let alone a 126 pace for 500 meters.
Yeah.
A kilometer is probably going to be a little bit more doable, but still, it's a fair while away, unfortunately. So
exactly.
We'll see how that goes.
Still got what?
It's like 6 months, no more. Plenty, heaps of time. So, look, I'm looking forward to getting back into heavier squats. I think those 180 squats are going to come around and start getting me some points. Yep. Muscle ups, I think, once I get back into the full pull-up scene, it'll be good.
Yeah.
Maybe a 3-minute challenge of pull-ups will be good, but those are... I've said that are way too difficult. 45 in 3 minutes. If anyone's here listening, if anyone can do 45 pull-ups in 3 minutes, well done. Good on you. But I'm not even close, and I think my 3-pointer is 55, which is 20 a minute on average, and I can... So far, the fastest I've ever done is 21 in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, we're only, 9 weeks in now. I feel like if we get to 26 weeks and there are some where you're putting... It has to be a combo of like you've been putting in the effort, but it's just too far away. Maybe we can do it.
Maybe we'll do it, and well, then again, I haven't even started running yet. So I've done one run in 9 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Excellent. All right, well, I've got nothing else for me to share. I think that's all for the meditation and fitness side of things. Again, if you're looking at the video and you saw the Buddha that's on the screen here on the whiteboard, feel free to throw back some hate on Kyrin. That is his decision of turning away another 20% of our listeners.
Good.
By the end of the year, we'll have a total of probably 3 listeners after we
need to make that active effort to
dilute our podcast listeners, so we only have as minimal amount as possible, just me and Kyrin.
Good.
Fantastic. All right, that's it. That's all from me. One out.
Kyrin out.